LAFC is able to get 3 points on the road in their first away game of the 2026 season after a 2-0 victory over the Houston Dynamo. Now, the first half was pretty evenly matched, but the second half, after 2 red cards by the Houston Dynamo, gave LAFC the advantage and they were able to capitalize. So let's break down what we saw in the first half and the second half and my thoughts on this game. But before we do that, make sure you guys like this video down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos. So let's talk about the first half. The first half of this game was very evenly matched between both teams. Almost frustratingly, honestly. Like there was nothing that really happened, nothing opened up. I mean, there were a couple shot attempts, but it was a very frustrating half for both teams, especially in the final third. Neither of these teams really did anything in the final third. We saw that they ran the same lineup LAFC has that they ran the last 2 games, the Real España first Champions Cup game and the first game against Inter Miami in the regular season. So they like this lineup a lot. Marc Dos Santos does. But man, they have no creativity in the midfield. This has been an issue since last season that we've talked about, and they insist on running out the same guys in the midfield. Now, Eustáquio was very good, and I think he gives a calm, cool presence for this team, but Tillman just leaves a lot to be desired. Marky Delgado can be good, but he's just very inconsistent, and that was what we saw in this match against the Houston Dynamo. Tillman is just holds on to the ball way too long. He holds on to the ball 2 or 3 seconds longer than he should. There were several times tonight where Son Heung-min or Denis Bouanga or David Martinez were onside and he could have played a through ball that maybe could have led to a goal, but he held on to it too long and his head was down. He's not looking up. He's not a playmaker. He is not good enough for this team to create chances, and this has been the same story for over a year now. But yet they continue to keep playing him there and even more in an attacking role than we've seen him in previous years. It's just not his position. He can't do it. And the team suffered because of this, and they weren't able to score in the first half. But on the other hand, we have to talk about Jonathan Bond. Jonathan Bond balled out tonight. And I'm talking about Houston, the Houston Dynamo's goalkeeper. There were several plays tonight where he made great saves. Great saves for against LAFC and saved them in this game. He had a couple good ones against Son Heung-min. We'll talk about the ones in the first half. But without him, I mean, Houston could have got smoked in this game. But Jonathan Bond was just an absolute warrior for this team. And I don't think that LAFC's back line, I want to touch on this too, was really tested much tonight. The Houston Dynamo's starting striker, Ezekiel Ponce, did not start. It was Linger starting up top for them. The Houston Dynamo. So they really weren't tested. Like I said, both these teams in the first half just had no creativity. They couldn't do anything in the first half. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, this was defense FC. That's what this was. And it's a shame, but that's just how it was in the first half. Nothing really happened. A lot of disappointment. But in the second half, actually at the end of the first half, Carlos clipped the back of Son Heung-min's Achilles, his ankle. It was a pretty dangerous attempt, a pretty dangerous foul. He got a straight red card. Now, they checked on VAR. They confirmed it. It was a red card. And a lot of people were saying, should this have been a red card? Should have been a yellow? I think it should have been a red card because if you look at it, Carlos was looking right at his heel. He didn't go for the ball, and he clipped the back of with his studs on Son Heung-min's ankle/Achilles. Very dangerous play. An Achilles rupture could have ended his season. So that was a reckless play, and I understand why he got a red card. So I understand. No problems here from that. I agree. So Houston heads into the half down a man. They're gonna start the second half down a man. LAFC have 11 men, and you think, okay, this game's gonna open up one way or the other because there's one less man. Houston's gonna try to score. LAFC's gonna have the advantage. We'll see what happens. Well, 11 minutes in, pretty much the same stuff. Very lackluster. Son Heung-min still having to come deep at the midfield point to get the ball to keep pushing it forward. And we saw this last year, which was a huge issue. It's got to stop. But, I mean, he should be, if he's going to play striker, he needs to play in front of goal. He doesn't need to be coming all the way back to the midfield to get the ball to start creating chances. Like, just ridiculous. But the 56th minute, Delgado had an absolute banger. Cuts right, shoots it right, curled it, no chance that Jonathan Bond, as good as he's been tonight, is going to save that, and puts him up 1-0 over the Houston Dynamo. And at that point, you're like, okay, this is probably over. I mean, they're down a man, they're down a goal, it's over, right? So they do that, and they have a comfortable lead. Well, Houston was kind of threatening a little bit, even down a man. They took out their striker in the second half. They brought in a center back, but they were still getting some chances, right? They were still threatening them in the second half. But then they got a second red card in the 76th minute by Bouza. They got a second red card. And at that point, it was over, right? I mean, you get two, you're down to 9 men against a team with 11. I mean, it's over. Like, especially a team that's as good as LAFC, it's over. So they're down to 9 men, holding on for dear life. And Eustáquio scores an absolute screamer in this game, too. Jonathan Bond was golden when it came to inside the box. I mean, he was stopping everything. I think Heung-min had 5 shot attempts tonight, and he saved every one of them. So I actually feel kind of bad for Heung-min because I know he's frustrated. He's trying to get on the score sheet in at least the MLS regular season, trying to find his first goal of the season, and he wasn't able to find the back of the net tonight. It was very unlucky for him, but I'm sure it's going to be a matter of time until he scores. But Jonathan Bond had a lot to do with that because he was just playing so well, and he was probably my man of the match as far as the entire game. He was doing everything. But when it came to outside the box, that's where he conceded 2 goals, and that's where he was not able to make these saves. So LAFC were able to go up 2-0 based on the 2 outside the box shots by Marky Delgado and Eustáquio in the 82nd minute. So LAFC is up 2-0, and they brought in Boudry. Boudry is the number 10 that they signed this offseason. They brought him in the 67th minute, and he was supposed to be this guy that fixes some of their issues in the midfield. He hadn't started yet in the MLS regular season, but he came in on the 67th minute. They let go of Andrew Morin because they didn't think he was good enough, and they brought in this kid to be that player. And you saw it with some beautiful passes. He had a beautiful pass on the outside of his boot to Heung-min, and it was an incredible pass. Like, no one else on this team is making that pass except for Boudry. But it was just good goalkeeping by Bond, and he was able to save it on Heung-min. I really thought Sonny was going to score tonight. I thought he was going to maybe get a goal or two. He had some good chances, was just unlucky. But that was a beautiful pass by Boudry, and you see the talent and you see the potential with him on this team. I also want to mention, too, that I didn't really care for Denis Bouanga's performance tonight. I thought Denis Bouanga was very lackluster because he had some bad crosses, bad touches, bad passes. He really didn't have any good shots either. That's the problem with Denis Bouanga. You have to take the good with the bad. And Denis Bouanga is going to have some games where he frustrates you because he's not a technically sound player. He just has this raw ability of like his athleticism, his speed, his pace, his dribbling. When it comes to passing and all that, he lacks that, right? If he had that, he'd be in a better league than MLS. That's just a fact. But tonight was one of those games where he wasn't very technically sound, and I think the team paid for it. He's got to be better with the passes and decision-making in the final third. Just was not good enough from Denis Bouanga, especially a guy who just got a huge pay raise, probably going to be a top 5, top 10 played player in MLS. He's got to perform better than what he did tonight. Thought Hugo Lloris was very good. I would say, honestly, the worst player on the pitch tonight for LAFC was Tillman, just because he is playing out of position. He is not a playmaker, and his decision-making is horrible. It is not good. And Boudry needs to be starting ASAP. And when they took David Martinez out, they put Tillman on the right wing. And if Tillman can't play as a 10, he sure can't play as a winger. He just does not have the speed. He does not have the technical ability. He does not have the playmaking ability. None of that. He is not a winger. He's not. He's just not. That's not his game. He's an 8, playing a 10 and sometimes playing as a winger. That makes no sense to me at all. But with all that being said, even with this team struggling, they still got two goals against the Houston Dynamo and 3 points. And they are the first seed team in the entire league at this point. Not much more you could ask for at this point for LAFC. And they got this run for the CONCACAF Champions Cup that they're preparing for, which is going to intensify in the coming weeks. But this team, even that's when you know you have a good team, guys. All you LAFC fans, you know you have a good team. If your team doesn't play well and you're still able to get results, that's when you know your team is good. So even though they didn't play as good as they did against Inter Miami or Real España, they still played well enough to get 3 points, and they have not lost a game or a competitive match in 2026. They beat Real España twice, they beat Inter Miami, and now they've beaten the Houston Dynamo. And LAFC looks like they're the best team in the league, and they have a lot of room to possibly get even better, which is scary for the entire MLS. So let me know what you guys think. Who was your player of the game? Mine was Jonathan Bond for the Houston Dynamo because he was making incredible saves. Without him, they would have gotten beaten even worse. Let me know who your guys' player of the match is and who you think had the worst game for either team. Let me know down below. And if you enjoy this video, make sure you give it a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos. Until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.